Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because what started in Minneapolis with 80,000 forced evictions wasn't the end of anything. In fact, this was just the beginning. So tonight, we're going to follow the trail that the mainstream media prayed you would never see. This is a trail that starts with luxury homes in Minnesota purchased with stolen welfare money, still lived in by convicted criminals, and it ends with a nationwide fraud network stretching from Minneapolis to Manhattan to Texas. President Donald J. Trump, he has officially unleashed the largest multi-state migrant fraud crackdown in American history. And the deeper the investigators dig, the darker this picture becomes, because we now know that the exact same blueprint used in the Minneapolis Somali fraud ring, fake children, fake meal plans, fake nonprofits, has now been uncovered in New York City's $5 billion migrant shelter scandal, in Chicago's Vanishing Millions, and in Texas, where investigators discovered ghost children created solely to drain government benefits. This isn't isolated. This isn't random. This is a fraud triangle. This is a coordinated ecosystem of exploitation that has thrived for years because weak politicians were just too terrified to question it. But that ends right now under President Trump. Federal agents are swarming multiple states. Warrants are flying. Businesses are being raided. And for the first time, America is seeing how deep the corruption really goes. So stick with me, guys, because what you're about to hear, this will change how you view the entire migrant system forever. I want you to watch this video until the end because you will be shocked. Stick around until the very end and hit the like button and subscribe. Folks, Minneapolis became the spark that lit the national fire. So when ICE moved in and those 80,000 eviction notices rippled across Somali-heavy neighborhoods, it wasn't symbolic. This was a federal declaration that the days of looking the other way were over. For years, a sprawling welfare fraud ecosystem thrived in the shadows. Fake meal programs, nonprofits claiming to feed children that don't even exist, government dollars pouring into operations that nobody bothered to verify. And as this network ballooned into the largest welfare fraud case in American history, local officials shrugged their shoulders, stalled, or even panicked the moment that somebody whispered the word racism. President Trump saw enough. He publicly declared that Minnesota officials lost control, and if they wouldn't protect the taxpayers, the federal government would. ICE deployments increased, federal prosecutors escalated, Minneapolis became ground zero for a nationwide reckoning, and the political establishment never saw it coming. But the real outrage wasn't even just that. It began when investigators discovered that even after convictions, many of the key fraudsters were still living very comfortably in multi-million-dollar suburban mansions purchased with stolen taxpayer money. Federal prosecutors had already filed forfeiture paperwork, yet the properties remained untouched. Their owners enjoying indoor basketball courts, luxury SUV fleets, and six-figure renovations. Meanwhile, Minnesotans struggled to pay rising taxes created by the fraud itself. Some of these figures owed tens of thousands of dollars in delinquent property taxes, yet nothing happened to them. Now, from Trump's DOJ, this was proof of how deep the systemic rot really was. Delays, excuses, bureaucrats slow-walking enforcement out of pure political fear. So how does someone siphon millions from children, get convicted, and still barbecue in the backyard of a $1.1 million home? How does that work out? Well, that question ignited federal pressure. Minneapolis wasn't just a crime scene. This was a cover-up zone, and Washington was done waiting. But before we move into the nationwide escalation, I do need to say something very important, because while federal fraud is hurting millions of Americans today, there's another place where people get blindsided every other day. It's their Medicare coverage. Now, one viewer told me, I'll look into it next week, but next week turned into next month, and then the letter came. Her Medicare plan dropped her preferred doctor, just like that, gone. She tried everything to get him back, calls, appeals, paperwork, but it was just too late. She cried on the phone telling me the story, and this is exactly why I partnered with Chapter. They help you keep your doctors, the doctors that you trust, by reviewing your Medicare plan before something like this changes behind the scenes. Now, people are already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen right there, which is 909-563-8279, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron, because keeping your doctor should not come down to a missed deadline. And speaking of results, a viewer named Darlene Walraven, she wrote, Ron, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me know about Chapter, saving me $200 a year, lower everything. Hey, Darlene, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your comment. And guys, this is comments like these, like yours, They just really help others know how much money that they're leaving on the table without even knowing it. And so by the end of this year, President Trump has seen enough obstruction, enough excuses, enough political cowardice from state officials that are terrified of offending the wrong people. So he authorized something that we've never seen on this scale: a multi-agency, multi-state federal raid force targeting migrant-linked fraud networks simultaneously. ICE, DOJ, DHS, IRS criminal investigations, all mobilized and synced in real time. Federal teams swept through Minneapolis first, but the operations didn't stop there. Trump's directive explicitly named New York City, Chicago, and multiple Texas districts, citing high likelihood of fraud replication. Now, he wasn't guessing. Investigators found identical patterns, inflated case numbers, fake dependents, shell nonprofits, and politically shielded operators. Now, this wasn't random. This was coordinated, folks. For the first time, the administration treated these scandals as a national criminal web, not isolated local failures. And the political establishment shook when those warrants started flying. So then came the bombshell out of New York City: a migrant shelter system that's now estimated to have bled over $5 billion through fraud, ghost contractors, kickback schemes, and a black market economy that's operating in the shadows of the sanctuary city machine. Investigators found shelters that were billing for services never delivered, vendors charging triple for basics, staff stealing migrant prepaid credit cards, and private security firms paid millions without vetting. And even worse, DOJ analysts discovered disturbing similarities to the Minneapolis scheme: inflated headcounts, non-existent recipients, forged documents, cozy political relationships granting immunity from oversight. The same playbook, different zip code, much bigger dollar amount. So when President Trump's task force connected the dots, New York City became a primary target. And the media scrambled because the narrative that they had crafted for years collapsed overnight. This wasn't compassionate policy. This was institutionalized exploitation, and it finally started cracking open. Now, before we move on, there's something you need to understand about the media landscape right now. The biggest problem today isn't just bias, it's confusion. News spreads faster than truth, algorithms trap us in echo chambers, and half the headlines that we see lack basic context. This is why I use Ground News. It pulls reporting from over 50,000 sources, shows the bias, factuality, and ownership of each outlet, and it lets you compare coverage side by side. Take this New York migrant shelter scandal story, covered by more than 20 outlets. Left-leaning headlines downplay mismanagement, while the right-leaning ones emphasize fraud. Ground News shows you all of it in seconds. So use my link down below, ground.news/Ron Yates, and get 40% off their Vantage plan, or scan the QR code on your screen right now. Next came Chicago. This is a city that's already buckling under crime, corruption, and a collapsing migrant system. But auditors just found something that's even worse: millions of taxpayer dollars simply missing from migrant housing and aid programs. Not misreported, not delayed, gone. Entire blocks of spending had no receipts, no verification, no proof that a single migrant ever received the services taxpayers were charged for. The deeper the investigators dug, the clearer the pattern became: inflated housing claims, duplicated invoices, no-show contractors, and politically connected nonprofits billing the city for emergency services that they never performed. Every layer pulled back revealed another shell organization, another door to nowhere. Trump's DOJ sent subpoenas immediately, and the outrage intensified when analysts reported that Chicago's missing millions had striking similarities to Minneapolis's feeding our future fraud. Different city, same rot, same blueprint, and the same groups benefiting behind the scenes. But nothing stunned investigators more than what Texas uncovered: fake children, falsified dependents created solely to siphon welfare benefits from state and federal programs. Texas DPS found networks using stolen identities, forged birth certificates, and manipulated case files to create ghost kids who qualified for food assistance, medical benefits, and even federal housing dollars. Now, what made this explosive is how perfectly it mirrored Minneapolis's fraud operation, where nonprofits claimed to feed thousands of children who never even existed. Texas agents soon realized that this wasn't a coincidence. This was a replication of the same fraud architecture adapted to exploit different state systems. So when the data reached Washington, Trump's task force flagged Texas as a major target for intensified raids. The message became undeniable. This wasn't random corruption. This was a nationwide extraction scheme, and America was only beginning to understand the scale of this thing. And so as investigators compared data from Minneapolis, New York City, Chicago, Texas, a disturbing realization emerged. These weren't isolated scandals. They were nodes in a nationwide fraud triangle. The same patterns just kept repeating: inflated headcounts, ghost children, fake nonprofits, non-existent services, and politically shielded operators who dared authorities to challenge them. What tied it all together was the structure. Each state's fraud operation relied on identical vulnerabilities: overwhelmed welfare departments, terrified bureaucrats unwilling to confront sensitive communities, and activist networks ready to scream racism the moment that an auditor asked for documentation. And because the tactic worked in Minnesota for so many years, the model spread quickly. So Trump's investigators now believe the Minneapolis scandal was the prototype. This was a successful stress test, if you will, that showed fraudsters exactly how far they could push the system before anybody noticed. And once they saw the blueprint worked, they replicated it nationwide, draining billions undetected. With federal investigators swarming, state leaders, especially in Minnesota and New York, suddenly faced questions that they had dodged for years. Why weren't properties seized after convictions? Why were warnings from auditors ignored? Why were whistleblowers dismissed, threatened, or labeled bigots for raising legitimate concerns? In Minnesota, officials hid behind these bureaucratic excuses while convicted fraudsters lounged in mansions purchased with stolen federal dollars. In New York, city officials, they couldn't explain why billions flowed through a shelter system with minimal oversight and zero accountability. And across both states, political leaders responded to scrutiny, not with transparency, but with outrage, insisting that investigators were attacks on vulnerable communities rather than simple inquiries into documented criminal behavior. Trump's DOJ rejected that entire framing. The position was blunt. The fear of being called racist allowed one of the largest fraud ecosystems in the U.S. history to thrive untouched, and that era is over. So one of the most shocking flashpoints came when ICE agents reported that Minneapolis businesses were actively blocking federal enforcement. In one now infamous case, plainclothes ICE officers entered a restaurant after spotting a fugitive employee in the back, only for management to confront them, deny access, and then claim agents had no warrant. But here's the truth. ICE doesn't need a judicial warrant to enter publicly accessible areas during an investigation. And if a fugitive is visible fleeing into a restricted area, agents can then legally pursue without permission. Yet the business stood its ground, closed early, and allegedly helped employees escape out the back. Now, this wasn't confusion. This was interference. ICE later reported the same restaurant had been under observation and that the managers were warned about harboring individuals wanted in the Feeding Our Future case. For investigators, this moment revealed just how deeply some sanctuary-minded networks are willing to obstruct federal law. Then came this viral clip from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and it detonated across the internet. In the video, Omar criticizes members of her own Somali community, describing people you've seen at the mosque, at Starbucks, at parties who do not improve the community at all. Now, the backlash was immediate. Supporters of Trump's crackdown pointed to the clips as proof that even Omar acknowledged internal problems she once insisted didn't exist. Critics accused her of hypocrisy, condemning Trump for attacking a community, meanwhile making eerily similar comments herself behind closed doors. The political fallout was explosive. Now, for many Americans, it simply validated what investigators have been saying for years, that the issue wasn't ethnicity, but behavior, accountability, and fraud hiding behind cultural shields. And at the exact moment that federal raids intensified, Omar's remarks undermined the very narrative that Minnesota officials had used to deflect scrutiny for years. And as the evidence poured in, President Trump issued a stark national warning. Minneapolis was the alarm bell. This is only the beginning. His administration released a directive enforcing federal agents to map out vulnerability zones across every sanctuary state, areas where welfare systems, migrant programs, and nonprofit networks show the same structural weakness exploited in Minnesota, New York, Chicago, and Texas. Quietly, dozens of new investigations were opened. ICE expanded its operational footprint. IRS criminal investigations began combing through nonprofit tax filings. DHS flagged suspicious funding streams that stretched across state lines. Trump's message to the country was unmistakable. This wasn't a cleanup effort, this was a reset. And as more warrants were drafted, more bank accounts frozen, and more properties flagged for seizure, it became clear that the fraudsters weren't just being investigated, they were being hunted. So by today, the United States has entered a new era of enforcement, one shaped not by political correctness or bureaucratic paralysis, but by the hard reality that billions of dollars meant for children, seniors, and the most vulnerable, they were stolen in broad daylight. Americans watched as luxury homes were raided, fake nonprofits collapsed, and long-protected networks finally faced consequences. The reaction was split. Millions cheered Trump's crackdown as overdue justice, a long-awaited end to corruption disguised as compassion, while others panicked, insisting that the investigations were too aggressive, too disruptive, too uncomfortable, racist. But the truth was unavoidable. For years, the system rewarded fraud and punished anyone who questioned it. So now the question hangs over the nation. How deep does this go? How much money was stolen and who helped cover it up? One thing is certain, though. This era of silence is over. America is finally waking up.